I'm Eli Zook, and if you've ever noticed that Amish marriages almost never end in divorce and wondered what we know that the rest of the world seems to have forgotten, this is for you. Because people get Amish marriage wrong in two directions. Some think we stay married because we're trapped, because leaving isn't allowed, because we're forced to endure misery for the sake of tradition. Others think we've got some secret romantic formula, like we're happier than everyone else from day one. The truth is more grounded than both. There are 7 things Amish couples do, especially in communities like mine, that make marriage last. Not because it's always easy, not because we never struggle, but because we've built a structure that holds a marriage together even when feelings fade, even when life gets hard, even when you wake up one day and wonder if you made a mistake. So here are 7 things Amish marriages do that most modern marriages don't. First, we choose marriage before we choose the person. That sounds backwards to most people, but it's the foundation of everything else. In the modern world, people fall in love first, then decide if they want to get married. And if the love fades, the marriage feels like a mistake. We do it differently. We decide early that marriage is what we're moving toward. Marriage isn't a question, it's the path. And once you accept that, the question becomes, who can I walk this path with? Not, does this person make me feel a certain way right now? I'm not saying we marry people we don't care about. I'm not saying there's no affection, no attraction, no connection. There is. But that connection is built inside a framework that already said yes to marriage. And that changes everything. Because when hard times come, and they will, you're not asking, should I stay married? You're asking, how do we get through this? The marriage itself isn't up for debate. And this is where people misunderstand. They think that sounds oppressive. But here's what I've seen. When marriage is a given, you stop wasting energy wondering if you should leave. You stop comparing your spouse to some imaginary better option. You stop treating commitment like it's conditional, and that frees you up to actually work on the relationship instead of constantly evaluating whether it's worth it. Second, we marry inside the community. And I don't just mean we marry other Amish people, I mean we marry people who share the same beliefs, the same values, the same understanding of what marriage is supposed to be. We marry people who were raised the same way we were raised, who go to the same church, who answer to the same elders, who live under the same expectations. Now, outsiders hear that and think it sounds limiting. But here's what it prevents. It prevents the kind of conflict that destroys most marriages. When both people agree on what matters, when both people were taught the same things about money, about family, about faith, about roles, you're not spending the first 10 years of marriage fighting about fundamentals. You're not arguing about whether the wife should work or stay home. You're not arguing about how to raise the children. You're not arguing about what church to attend or whether church even matters. Those things are already settled. And that doesn't mean there's no disagreement. It means the disagreements happen within a shared understanding. You're on the same team, working from the same playbook. And that stability, that alignment, it's one of the biggest reasons our marriages hold. Because we're not trying to build a life with someone who wants a completely different life. Third, we don't believe in romantic love as the foundation. I know that sounds harsh, but hear me out. Modern marriage is built on a feeling. People say, I'm in love, and they get married. Then the feeling changes, as feelings do, and they say, I fell out of love, and they leave. We don't build on that. We build on commitment, on duty, on covenant, on the understanding that love is something you do, not just something you feel. In an Amish marriage, love is action. It's the husband working every day to provide. It's the wife managing the home and raising the children. It's both people showing up even when they're tired, even when they're frustrated, even when the romance has worn thin. And here's what happens over time. When you act like you love someone, even on the days you don't feel it, the feeling comes back. Not always the same way, not always with the same intensity, but it comes back as something deeper, something steadier. And that kind of love, the kind that's been tested and chosen over and over, that's the kind that lasts 50 years. The kind that makes an old couple sit together in the evening and not need to say much because they've walked through everything together and they're still there. That doesn't come from a spark, that comes from discipline. Fourth, we have defined roles and we don't fight about them. The husband leads, the wife supports, the husband provides, the wife manages the home, the husband makes certain decisions, the wife makes others. And before someone says that sounds unequal, let me tell you what it actually creates. It creates clarity. It creates order. It creates a household where everyone knows what they're responsible for. In most modern marriages, roles are negotiated constantly. Who's doing the dishes? Who's putting the kids to bed? Who's working more? Who's sacrificing more? And that constant negotiation breeds resentment, because someone always feels like they're doing more. Someone always feels taken for granted. We don't have that fight. Not because we're perfect, but because the structure is already there. The husband isn't wondering if he should be working or staying home. The wife isn't wondering if she should be the primary provider. Those questions are answered before the wedding, and that frees up energy for everything else. Now, does that mean there's no flexibility? No. Life happens. Wives help with farm work. Husbands help with children. But the foundation doesn't shift. The roles don't swap. And that stability, that knowing who you are and what you're responsible for, it prevents a lot of the chaos that tears marriages apart. Fifth, divorce isn't an option, and everyone knows it. I know that makes people uncomfortable, but it's one of the most important things. When divorce is always available, it's always in the back of your mind. When things get hard, and they will, there's a little voice that says, "You could leave. You don't have to stay. Other people do it." And that voice makes it harder to push through. In our world, that voice doesn't exist. Divorce isn't talked about as a possibility. It's not modeled by anyone around you. It's not encouraged by your friends. It's not an escape route. And when you take that option off the table, something shifts. You stop looking for the exit, and you start looking for the solution. You stop asking, "How long do I have to endure this?" And you start asking, "How do we fix this?" And I'll be honest, that doesn't make every marriage happy. There are Amish couples who struggle. There are marriages where there's distance, where there's coldness, where things aren't what anyone hoped. But they stay, and sometimes by staying, they find their way back. Sometimes it takes years. Sometimes it takes a lifetime. But they don't give up. And that commitment, that refusal to quit, it teaches something to the children, to the community, to the couple themselves. It teaches that you don't walk away when things get hard. You walk through. Sixth, the community holds the marriage accountable. Marriage in the Amish world isn't just between two people, it's between two people in front of the church, in front of the families, in front of God. And all of those witnesses have a say. If a husband is treating his wife poorly, the elders will talk to him. If a wife is being disrespectful, someone will address it. If the marriage is struggling, the community steps in, not to judge, not to gossip, but to help. And that accountability, that sense that your marriage isn't just your private business, it keeps people from drifting too far. Because you can't hide. You can't pretend everything's fine when it's not. And you can't just walk away without everyone knowing and everyone asking why. Now, some people hear that and think it sounds intrusive. But here's what it does. It keeps problems from festering. It keeps small issues from becoming big ones. It keeps couples from isolating and giving up. Because when you know people are watching, when you know people care, when you know people will step in if you're failing, you try harder. You don't let things fall apart as easily. Seventh, we build our marriage around something bigger than ourselves. This is the part that modern marriages are missing most. In the world outside, marriage is about the two people. It's about their happiness, their fulfillment, their dreams, their needs. And when one person isn't happy anymore, the whole thing collapses. Because if marriage is just about you and you're not happy, why stay? We don't build marriage around personal happiness. We build it around faith, around family, around community, around the next generation. An Amish marriage exists to raise children in the faith, to build a household that honors God, to contribute to the community, to be a picture of commitment that the young people can see and learn from. And when your marriage is about something bigger than whether you feel happy today, you can survive the days when you're not happy. You can survive the hard seasons. You can survive the fights, the disappointments, the times when you look at each other and wonder how you ended up here. Because the marriage isn't just about you, it's about what you're building together. And that gives it weight. That gives it purpose. That gives it a reason to keep going even when the feelings aren't there. Now, I want to say something that ties all 7 of these together. People hear this list and they think it sounds restrictive. They think it sounds like we're stuck, like we're enduring something we hate because we don't have a choice. But that's not what it is. Yes, there are hard marriages. Yes, there are Amish couples who aren't deeply in love every day. But here's what we have that most people don't. We have stability. We have commitment. We have a structure that holds us when we're weak. We have a community that doesn't let us quit. And we have a purpose that's bigger than our feelings. And over time, that produces something most modern marriages never get to. It produces peace. Not the peace of constant happiness, but the peace of knowing you're exactly where you're supposed to be. The peace of knowing that no matter what happens, you're not going to run. The peace of knowing that the person next to you isn't evaluating whether you're still worth it. They're just there. And that kind of peace, that kind of security, it's rarer now than it's ever been. If you came here expecting me to say Amish marriages are perfect, I won't say that. But if you came here wondering why Amish marriages last when most marriages don't, now you know. We last because we choose marriage before we choose the person. We marry inside the community. We don't build on romantic feelings. We have clear roles. We take divorce off the table. We let the community hold us accountable, and we build our marriage around something bigger than ourselves. That's not a fairy tale. That's a framework. And it works because it's been working for generations, not because it makes every day easy, but because it makes commitment possible. And commitment, not happiness, is what makes a marriage last.